Life Audio.
Welcome to the Crosswalk Devotional. We are so glad to have you listening with us here today. Today's topic is anticipating heaven. We will return after this brief message from our sponsor.
Christian parents, what college will prepare your student to compete with the best while encouraging them to love their country and grow in their walk with Christ? Patrick Henry College. Located in Northern Virginia, Patrick Henry College is the place for high-achieving, conservative Christian students. Already a top pre-law college, PHC has another one-of-a-kind program, Economics and Business Analytics. EBA takes your business-minded STEM student and produces a graduate capable of servant leadership at the highest levels. Find out more at phc.edu/EBA.
Do You Anticipate Heaven? Written by Aaron D. Anthony Brown. Read by Rochelle Alberti. Don't let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? If I go away and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also. John 14:1-3. What is heaven like? One realization about believers that has surprised me over the years, especially with older Christians, is how little they think about heaven. If salvation is to take place when we die, perhaps the thinking is that we live now and heaven comes later. That's a fair point. We can read about heaven and pontificate it, but we don't know what it's actually like until we know. What's more apparent is the here and now, our day-to-day struggles and triumphs. Nonetheless, I still can't help but wonder why we don't think about heaven just a bit more. Scripture talks about it to some degree. Jesus told his disciples that he was going to prepare a room for them. Imagine that. A room is uniquely prepared for you. This could be a literal room, or some sort of home, or something else entirely. But if God made it, you know it'll be great. This is one of God's promises we can hold on to while we're here on earth, and yet we don't spend any time thinking about it. There's plenty to enjoy about our earthly homes, the people, the gizmos and gadgets, all the conveniences we so often take for granted. Yet, all of this is temporary. Our things wither away, needing to one day be replaced, and we too wither away. Though in our case, the finish line is just that. This may seem like a scary thought, but when Jesus talked about death, he wasn't afraid. When he talked about heaven, there was anticipation. As imitators of Christ, we should strive to emulate Jesus in these ways also. Ephesians 5:1-2. Then we come closer to impacting the world the way he did. Forming a new habit may seem difficult, but just because we didn't think about it much before doesn't mean we can't start anticipating heaven more today. Honestly, there are plenty of reasons to do so. Intersecting faith and life. Thinking about death puts life into perspective. Nothing makes you appreciate what you have as much as not having that particular thing. This is true of our possessions and especially our relationships. When we realize that our relationships don't last forever, we're less likely to take them for granted or allow petty squabbles to prevent us from making amends. Thinking about heaven brings excitement. There's plenty of unknown regarding heaven, but there are several details that we do know, like how there will be no more death, sickness, or sadness. We will be able to dwell in the presence of the Lord and do so peacefully for eternity. Imagine that. Peace that lasts forever. How we will spend all of that time? Who knows? But all of the things that kept us from living life to the fullest will be no more. Thinking about heaven brings comfort. In life, we all go through phases where we question God's existence or doubt He's with us during our darkest hours. In heaven, there won't be any dark hours. In addition to that, we will be all the closer to God's presence. Think about when you have felt closest to Him on this side of life. Now imagine that occurring constantly and to a greater degree. Does that bring a smile to your face? Thinking about heaven builds faith. When we live with heaven in our minds, we don't shy away from discussing it, not with fellow believers or non-believers. Moreover, when we think about heaven, we give ourselves reason to be faithful today. Faithful in the midst of temptation, hardship, and any difficulty, because we're reminding ourselves that there is more to existence than the here and now. What we face today is temporary, but heaven is eternal. Maybe today you don't anticipate heaven, but tomorrow you should. Thinking about that wonderful place makes living a whole lot better. Further reading and listening. John 3:16, Revelation 21:4, Colossians 3:2, 2 Corinthians 5:1. What is Living All About? By Forrest Frank.
The Crosswalk Devotional is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
I'm Don Hawkins, and I once heard Chick-fil-A founder Truett Cathy say, "You can tell if a person needs encouragement, check to see if they're breathing." I'd like to invite you to my weekly podcast, Encouragement for You, featuring encouraging guests like Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley, Dan Cathy, the late Dr. Frank Menrith, Josh McDowell, and more. To subscribe to my weekly Encouragement for You podcast, go to lifeaudio.com. That's lifeaudio.com.